Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Volume 3 of The Fives. If you like this kind of content, you might want to check out my book, A Big Book of Weird Top 10 Lists, at the link you see on your screen. There's a lot of topics to cover, and every entry has its own website that you can go and explore, go down your own rabbit hole, or check out for yourself. Now, on with the list. Today we're going to talk about 5 creepy, little-known unsolved mysteries. There are a lot of unsolved mysteries in the world, and some of them get more attention than others. But for every mystery like an Elisa Lam, there are many, possibly hundreds more that go unnoticed. They slip under the radar. They're not as well known or talked about, but that does not make them any less creepy or freaky. We're going to cover 5 of those today, so let's get right into it. Number 5, Olivia Mabel. The Mabel family lived in a quiet suburb of Salina, Texas. There was Olivia, her husband Travis, and their son Aiden, and they appeared to be the perfect family. Until March 13th, 1990. Little Aiden was just 7 years old when he was found dead in a pond, a victim of an accidental drowning. Olivia was overcome with grief. She retreated from her work, her social life, and even her marriage. A year later, they were divorced. September 1991 was the last time anyone saw Olivia alive. On February 27, 1994, police received a silent 911 call originating from the Mabel house. Arriving at the house, they broke down the door and entered what they first thought was an abandoned building. It was a mess. The air was thick with dust. But searching the house, they found Aiden's bedroom, and it was immaculate. Not a thing had changed. Olivia was also in the room, but she was wearing a nightgown and slippers, sitting in a rocking chair, clutching a crude stick figure type doll. And she appeared to have been dead for quite some time, at least a few months. In front of her was a crude altar made up of a trunk covered with a child's bedsheet. On the altar were photos of Aiden, drawings, letters written by Olivia to Aiden, several of Aiden's toys, an urn full of ashes, flowers, and candles. There was also a note written in a foreign language, which turned out to be Sanskrit, and in English it translated to construct or to build. This alone is weird enough, but then things got really strange. Investigators found a note dated February 27, 1994, the same day the 911 call came in. But remember, this was months after Olivia had died, and it was written in Olivia's handwriting. It read, "My Aiden, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have never let it get like this. I'm leaving. I will not let you keep me, you vile, evil creature. Mommy's coming for you, Aiden, my sweet Aiden. Mommy loves you." The official statement was that Olivia post-dated her letter, but several of the officers felt a presence in the house and sought explanation from paranormal experts. To them, the altar suggested that Olivia had manifested a tulpa, or thought form. A tulpa is a concept in Buddhism where an object or being is created through spiritual or mental discipline alone. Is it possible that Olivia created a tulpa, perhaps in Aiden's own image, to keep her company? And did that tulpa turn evil and kill Olivia? There are more questions than answers in this case, and we'll probably never know. Number 4, the man from Torad. In July of 1954, a man arrived at the Tokyo airport in Japan. He was of Caucasian appearance, kind of conventional looking, but officials became suspicious. Upon checking his passport, they saw that he was from a country called Torad. Now, the passport looked genuine, except for one thing, and that is there is no such country as Torad. They interrogated the man and asked him to point out where his country supposedly exists on a map. He immediately points his finger towards the Principality of Andorra, but he becomes angry and confused. He's never heard of Andorra, and he can't understand why his homeland of Torad isn't there, because according to him, it's existed for more than 1,000 years. They found his passport had been stamped by many airports around the globe, including previous visits to Tokyo. Baffled, they took him to a local hotel and placed him in a room with 2 guards outside until they could get to the bottom of the mystery. Now, the company he claimed to work for had no knowledge of him, although he had proper documentation proving he worked at the place. He had a reservation at a hotel that had never heard of him either. Even the company officials in Tokyo he was there to do business with said the same thing. They had no idea who this man was. Later, when the hotel room he was in was opened, the man had disappeared, vanished. The police said he could not have escaped out the window because the room was several floors up and there was no balcony, and they had guards outside the entire time so that he couldn't leave. Is this a case of interdimensional travel? Or is something else going on here? That's a question we may never have an answer for. Number 3, Ada Constance Kent. Also known as Connie Kent, she was a British actress who appeared in both stage and film productions. She worked a long time in London before moving to the English countryside in a little one-floor cottage. She was unmarried. She lived in the small village of Fingrenhoe, Essex. She was reclusive and seldom mixed with other people. Ada was last seen alive on March 6, 1939, when she went into the Whalebone pub to buy her usual pack of Woodbine cigarettes. In 1939, Ada was reported missing by a worried friend who hadn't heard from her in about 3 months. The police searched her cottage top to bottom, and they insisted there was nobody and no body inside her cottage. According to the report, the door was locked, or the door to the cottage was found unlocked. A supper tray with the remains of a meal was resting on the dining table. A copy of Romeo and Juliet was found open in a chair near the fireplace, and her coat was still on the hook. She had vanished, simply disappeared. In 1942, 3 years later, a friend decided to go checking for her on his own. He broke into her front door. Again, looked top to bottom. He checked underneath furniture, inside the cupboards, found no trace of Ada. And he too stated, it appears Ada just vanished and never returned. In March of 1949, a bank contacted the police because they'd been getting some large deposits into Ada's account, and they were unable to reach her. So once again, the police went to her cottage, and this time they made a shocking discovery. In the bedroom, laying next to a single bed, was a fully clothed skeleton. Next to the skeleton was an empty bottle marked poison. The police report stated that the cottage, apart from being dirty, looked like it had not been touched in a decade. And they also noticed the supper tray was still on the table, but the book was missing. They ruled out a robbery because they discovered jewels and money in the cottage. It's important to note that the Scotland Yard forensic report stated that the skeleton is unlikely that of Ada Constance Kent, as it is too large and likely even that of a man. To this day, the case remains unsolved, and no logical explanation answers all the strange questions. Number 2, the woman in the oven. This one is very, very strange indeed. Who set up the videotape, as you'll soon hear about? How did the tape come up missing? How was it found in a well outside of her house after what they thought was a suicide? But instead of me telling you about it, I found a video that explains it very well, and I'll let you listen to that.
During the summer of 1983, in a quiet town near Minneapolis, Minnesota, the charred body of a woman was found inside the kitchen stove of a small farmhouse. A video camera was also found in the kitchen, standing on a tripod and pointing at the oven. No tape was found inside the camera at the time. Although the scene was originally labeled as a homicide by police, an unmarked VHS tape was later discovered at the bottom of the farm's well, which had apparently dried up earlier that year. Despite its worn condition and the fact that it contained no audio, police were still able to view the contents of the tape. It depicted a woman recording herself in front of a video camera, presumably the same camera that police had found in the kitchen. After positioning the camera to include both her and her kitchen stove in the footage, the tape then showed her turning on the oven, opening the door, crawling inside, and then closing the door behind her. 8 minutes into the video, the oven could be seen shaking violently, after which point thick black smoke could be seen emanating from it. For the remaining 45 minutes of video, until the batteries in the camera died, it remained in its stationary position. To avoid disturbing the local community, police never officially released any information about the tape, or even the fact that it was found. Police were also not able to determine who had put the tape in the well, or why the height and stature of the woman in the video didn't come close to matching the body they'd found in the oven.
Number 1, Ato Majorana. Ato Majorana was born in Italy in 1906. He was a scientist and a physicist. He famously went missing, presumed dead, on March 27, 1938, at the age of 32. It was claimed he disappeared or vanished under very mysterious circumstances while going by a ship from Palermo to Naples. But here's the thing. Almost 20 years later, he was photographed in Argentina, still looking about the same age as he was in 1938. While rumors of his death circulated, nothing was ever proven until 2011. At that time, Italian media reported that the IRS, or the RIS, had analyzed a photograph of a man taken in Argentina in 1955, finding 10 points of similarity with Majorani's face. They stated that the picture was almost certainly him, even though he had vanished almost 20 years before the picture was taken. The odd thing was he looked almost the same age in the pictures from 1938 as he did in 1955. It is known in 1937 that Majorana predicted that a stable particle could exist in nature that was both matter and antimatter. Should matter and antimatter meet, they both annihilate, disappearing in a flash of energy. So the question remains, did he try some strange experiment that had him disappearing in a flash of energy, only to reappear instantly in a flash 20 years later? Or did he just want to get away from the fame and notoriety? Rumors have been swirling around about his disappearance since the very moment he failed to step off the boat that he was spotted boarding in March of 1938. However, even this one act is in dispute, as many claim he sent a decoy on the boat. Others claim that he had a group of people who knew what he was going to do, so they made up the boat story as to not raise suspicion or alarm. A fellow Nobel Prize winner once said, when discussing his disappearance, Ettore was too intelligent. If he has decided to disappear, no one will be able to find him. Not in this time or another. To this day, no one is sure what happened to Ato Majorana. And that does it for this episode of The Fives. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. It means a lot. If you liked it, feel free to click the like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel for more. Also, if you want to support me financially, you can go to PayPal or join my Patreon. Receive exclusive videos, updates, pictures, and a lot more. Every donation is very much appreciated, and it all goes to help support free education here in Cambodia. I will talk to you guys in the next one.